How's it going, everyone? Coming to you live. Bobby will be here in a minute.
Episode here.
There he is.
There he is. This is a doubleheader episode, a special edition of FinsTalk today and then overtime soon after. As always, I'm joined by the one and only Fish Tank Hank. Hank, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great today. You know why?
Why is that?
Because we're here on a special episode. That's why.
Right. Special episode, doubleheader.
This is close to what our time used to be. Now we're on Saturdays. So what are we on? 12 noon Eastern time. So it's nice to come in and be here on another day, on a Monday, and get things rolling.
That's right. And it's exciting. We missed that out. I had celebrating my 10th wedding anniversary this weekend. That's why we didn't do the episode, and Hank was gracious enough to move it to today. So we said, let's do a special episode, a doubleheader, overtime at 8 o'clock, 7:30 to 8. FinsTalk today. And as always, some people might be taking some time off. FinsTalk Network, we do not. We always have content to discuss. So, Hank, obviously, yes, it has been a little quiet, but there's some stuff out there to talk about with the Dolphins. We make it happen, too. So let's discuss, first off, a report from Pro Football Focus from Eric Eager, who ranked the top play callers in the NFL, and where he had Josh Boyer, defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. He actually had the Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator 5th. Out of 32 defensive coordinators, he had him 5th on the list. He was saying that new Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel retained Boyer, and for good reason. Despite an offense that did it no favors in 21 last season, Miami's defense helped the team overcome a 1-7 record to 9-8 in a campaign that gave way to breakout players such as interior defender Christian Wilkins, who ranked 3rd in the NFL in WAR at his position, and safety rookie sensation Javon Holland, the 9th most valuable rookie in the NFL in 2021. Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, New Orleans Saints head coach Dennis Allen, who's then defensive coordinator, Dallas Cowboys D coordinator and Dolphins coach candidate Dan Quinn at the time before Mike McDaniel, and Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier were the D coordinators ahead of Boyer on that list, Hank. So hearing that list, reading what this Eager had said about Josh Boyer, what are your thoughts about this, and how does this make you feel about the defense into the coming season?
I'm right where I was before. Everybody's coming back. And I've been saying, I know that they're going to be a top 10. I don't know if they'll be a top 5. So that's my question. Are they going to make it to a top 5 this year or not? Well, look at some of the teams we got to go against. Buffalo's a big scoring machine. So if Miami can't stop, teams like Buffalo, and Buffalo's at the top, not just for the AFC East either. Buffalo's at the top for a lot of the AFC overall. And a lot of people have them as a contender for the Super Bowl. So you have to be able to stop teams like that. And last year, Miami's defense collapsed against the Bills. Just collapsed both times. I don't blame the defense as much as the fact that the offense wasn't doing much. And I think that's about to change. There's a lot of change coming. Now, what do I think about what he had to say? And I love what he has to say, of course. Of course I do. Boyer being 5th on the list, I'm happy with that. That just reassures me. Let me pat myself on the back. There you go. No, that just reassures me that what I've been saying is right. Now, is the offense going to be that top 10, top 5 offense? That's our question. That's our main question.
Yeah, for me, it puts a lot of confidence in doubts and kind of ease some doubts in my mind regards of Josh Boyer, just because, the first part of that season, they were 1-7. And a lot of it had to do, with offense, but defense too. As you have stated, both times against Buffalo, they wet the bed. The game against Tennessee, they had wet the bed. Second half of the season, of course, they went on that 7-game win streak. and brought it to 9-8, and the defense had a lot to do with that. It was an elite type of defense. Now, after the season, after Flores was fired, there were so many different reports. Was it Brian Flores calling the plays for defense in that second half? Was it Gerald Alexander, who's now off the staff as well? Was it him? There were some reports about him. Or was it Josh Boyer? So there were some doubts in minds about how much Josh Boyer had to do with that defense. However, with this guy on Pro Football Focus, what he's reporting here, what he's saying in his analysis, it does help give me a little cause to pause in regards of my doubts and saying, okay, maybe the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel made the right decision to keep this guy, and hopefully he was the reason why the defense was good or great at that time, and hopefully they could continue that, because a lot of the Dolphins' success next season coming up will have to do with the defense, because the offense is new playbook. How is this offensive line going to do? It's going to have to rely on their defense to get the ball back to the offense and protect leads. So I'm excited about this. We're going to talk a bit about the defense today, Hank, and let's move on to that. I know it's third on the list, but let's talk about it. First off, Steve Malley, thank you. I see you on there, man.
What's up, Steve?
Everyone else who's watching, thank you. If you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button to some great Dolphins content and Miami Heat as well if you're a Heat fan. So, Hank, let's move on. Let's talk about the defense here. It's started on the list, but we'll get to the second part in just a second. But we're talking defense. We've talked everybody, Dolphins, Twitterverse and media, whatever, talking about the offense, and rightfully so. Tyreek Hill trade, Terran Armstead, Tua. We're always talking, but we're not really talking about the defense when the defense had a lot to do with the success of last year, having that winning record, and what we hope they could do next year. So I wonder, the defense did make some moves this year, some undrafted free agents. They've signed veterans, Melvin Ingram for one. We expect big things from Jalen Phillips. So let's talk about projected starters for defense next year. Of course, you got Dolphins run two types of defense, but they mainly run a 3-4. I believe that is what's on their website. That was on ESPN. So I have it where it's like 3 defensive linemen, but a lot of times I see 4 defensive linemen. But let's go 3 defensive linemen, Hank, 4 linebackers, 3 corners, 2 safeties. So go ahead and you start wherever you want to start. But what do your starters look like?
Well, I have it pretty close to what they have it now as far as, defense goes, because you have Raekwon Davis, you have Sealer, and you have Wilkins. They're not going anywhere. Those 3 aren't going anywhere, in my opinion. I don't see the people in the second and third ranks taking over for them. So those are solidified, in my opinion. And then you have your 2 cornerbacks that are solidified, of course, in Jones and Howard. So those are pretty much taken care of. So the real questions for me are the linebackers. And how is Channing Tindall going to do? I don't know. Is he going to be able to take over Robert's spot? I don't know. He might be able to. Right inside linebacker, I like Jerome Baker still. You have Duke Riley backing him up. He's done good as a backup. I mean, nothing super exciting. Then you got the strong side, which is Agba with Jalen Phillips. You got Phillips there. You got Andrew Van Ginkel. And your safeties are Javon Holland and Eric Rowe. But Brandon Jones might take that from Eric Rowe. We'll find out.
All right. I think you're right about the Eric Rowe thing. I was thinking about that as well. Now, for me, I did 3-4. 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers. For me, I had Emmanuel Akpa at left end, Raekwon Davis at defensive tackle, Christian Wilkins at right end. Again, I agree with you. Zach Zealer is obviously a huge part of that defensive line, so he'll be right there. But I think Emmanuel Akpa, when not playing at the linebacker spot, when they're at the 3-4, will be the defensive end there. Christian Wilkins at the end there. Outside linebacker, Jalen Phillips at left linebacker. Mm-hmm. Baker, I have there as well. same as you. I got Landon Roberts for right now. I know we got Channing Tindall. He's a 3rd-round pick, but he is counted as a 1st-round pick. But I think that the veteran will get that spot unless Channing Tindall surprises everybody and outperforms them in camp and in the preseason. But I got Landon Roberts right now. Andrew Van Ginkel, I have it right linebacker, Hank, for right now. Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, I'm with you on that. Nick Needham, I think he'll be the 3rd unless Igbenogany shows up and takes that spot, but that's wait and see. I'm with you on Eric Rowe for right now. We'll wait and see what happens with Brandon Jones. He has that opportunity. I think he's a very good player. I think he has the potential to be a starter, but we'll wait. And, of course, Javon Holland at strong safety. So not too many surprises.
And who do we have coaching Igbo this year? Who's coaching them?
Sam Madison and Pat Surtain.
Exactly. And you know what? I have a funny feeling that young lad, because he wasn't originally a corner to begin with, from what I understand, but they should be able to convert him where he's ready to go. They should be able to put some talent, put some talent around him like they did and coach him up. I think he's going to make a jump. He's either going to make a jump or a dump. It's either going to be one or the other.
A jump or a dump. You're absolutely correct. That's where we're kind of going to now. It's about which players not named Tua, because everybody's talking about Tua. But which players not named Tua are facing the most pressure? And for me, Hank, I'll just go right into my list because you're mentioning names. First one is Noah Igbenogany. 1st-round pick, hasn't seen the field. Everybody blames Brian Flores and the staff. Of course, we just talked about it. Josh Boyer's still there. But new coaching staff, as you said, Pat Surtain and Sam Madison are on the coaching staff now. He's a 1st-round pick, and you're right. I think he played some wide receiver, one of the fastest players in football, really, when given, where he was in college. And he might have the opportunity now. So I think not named Tua, if you're talking about players on the Dolphins, he's one. He's facing the most pressure. Is he a bust, as most people believe he is, or will he prove people wrong now that he has a new staff in place? My second player on that list, Hank, for player not named Tua facing the most pressure, Austin Jackson. He's another one. Really, I could go with whoever's playing left guard, center, and right tackle. Any of those players face the most pressure. But I had to go with one. So I'm going Austin Jackson because another 1st-round pick. He struggled at left tackle. He showed some little bit of thing with the left guard, but still nothing to write home about. So, again, new staff in place, new offensive line coach, new offensive coordinator, a new coach who believes in offensive line and protection in Mike McDaniel. So he might have this opportunity to show he's worth that 1st-round pick, or Chris Greer was just dead wrong on that hit. But Austin Jackson's the other one. And my third one is going to be Tyreek Hill. He will face the most pressure this coming season. Not saying he's not great, but with everything that's been going on this offseason, he played his hand. He got his way out of Kansas City with Pat Mahomes to go play in Miami. He could have chosen between Miami and New York, and I don't think there's an argument there. Despite what anybody thinks about Tua, there's no doubt that Tua is better than what they have in New York. Okay, you could be stuck with Zach Wilson, but you got Tua. He bet his hedges on Tua. He's praising Tua. He's gonna have Tua on his podcast. He's all behind Tua, and really that puts pressure on him to make Tua the quarterback he's saying he is, and we expect him to be. And also what he's saying I could do without Pat Mahomes. So does he have the talent, obviously, to do it? Absolutely. But the pressure's on him. He better not have 800 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns by the end of the year, despite how great the offense may be. He better show up with, and I mean, I'm not going to put that on, but, 1,100 yards, 7-8 touchdowns, be a big part of the offense. Because if he shows up and becomes Mike Wallace, then that's going to be a failure, in my opinion. So, Hank, that's my list. Tyreek Hill, Austin Jackson, and Noah Igbenogany. So I'm assuming I'd probably know that one, too, because you brought him up. But what's your list, man?
Man, your list is looking an awful lot like my list. No wonder you wanted to go first. I agree. Hunt coming over. I don't care about his talk, about the talk. You know what I mean? I don't care about the talk. I don't think that these players ever feel pressure from the talk. You know what I mean? If they're feeling pressure from the talk and they're at the biggest game, then they're screwing up, you know? The guy's been to the biggest game. He's talking the talk, and he's going to walk the walk. But the whole point is the most pressure is on him outside of Tua. I mean, he is a huge, huge asset and costly asset to the Miami Dolphins. And that's where it's really the pressure's on him is from, how long are we going to keep him around and continue to pay him all this money? So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is Hunt has been a speedster. He's in his prime. Everybody is expecting him to do one of two things. Either he's going to fly down the field and catch the ball, going deep or cross route, whatever, 30 yards out, 40 yards out, 50 yards out. Tua can throw it that far. Whatever it may be, he's going to catch the ball and go. The other thing that he's going to do is probably be like a running back. So they're going to use him in a lot of different ways. So how are they going to use him exactly? I don't know. But I hope that they don't use him as a running back, to be honest with you. I really don't want him as a running back. I don't want to see him get hurt doing running back stuff. But, yeah, that's where we're at. And
What's up, Hammer time?
So Hunt is the first one. The second one is I'm right
Tyreek
there
Hill.
with you with
Tyreek
Jackson.
the first one, right? That's what you're saying. Tyreek Hill's the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, you said Hunt. I just want to confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Good.
Then I agree with you that it's Jackson.
Yep.
Jackson's right there. You could like you said, you could possibly name half the O-line. Okay, you could probably name half the O-line in that one. So I'm just going to leave it at that. On defense, who has the most pressure on defense? Well, I'm going to say it's Jones. Only because he keeps getting hurt and keeps getting hurt and keeps getting hurt. And if Igbo comes through, Igbo's going to beat him out. I could tell you, if Madison and Surtain trained him up, and if he's ready to go, like I think he might be, I'm not saying he's going to come out in the beginning of the year and blow things away. I'm thinking toward the middle of the year, he's going to show up or show out or be done.
So you have that much confidence in the hires of Pat Surtain and Sam Madison that you think Noah Benigni, a first-round pick, but hasn't seen the field in the past 2 seasons. You have that much confidence that they're going to make a difference in his career, that he's going to be probably replacing Byron Jones?
Yes.
Wow,
and the whole reason he'll be replacing Byron Jones because Byron Jones is hurt. Igbo isn't. That's why. That's the whole reason why. We all know that. Come on. If Byron Jones isn't hurt, great. He's going to be the starter, no doubt. But if he's hurt, guess who's coming in? Igbo. And I think if he gets his opportunity again, if he gets a real opportunity this time, and if he's been trained up by those two masters, I mean, those guys weren't all about pure speed. They were fast, no doubt, but they weren't all pure speed. And Igbo is a better athlete. So if they train him up, I think he can do some damage.
And just to talk a little bit about, so our list is almost the same, like you said. The only difference is I have Noah Benigni as someone facing the most pressure because he has to live up to that first-round pick. Yours is Byron Jones, so that's the only difference on our list. Tyreek Hill, Austin Jackson, even though we could say 3 people on the offensive line.
Yeah.
3 positions, really. And then, of course, but the difference would be the cornerback position. We both have corner, but Byron Jones and Igbo. Now, just to touch on your point, which is a great point with Tyreek Hill, we do expect him to be rushing the football. So, yes, I said, he better not have an 800-yard season receiving with 6 touchdowns. I mean, but if it's 800 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns and 400 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns. That's different. That's a big part of the offense that's contributing. But what you were saying is that you don't want him doing that, which I understand that. The only reason why I think that is in play is just because of Mike McDaniel and what he did in San Francisco with Deebo Samuel. Not saying that Tyreek is going to be the only one living that type of role. You have Jalen Waddle. You have Lynn Bowden, who did that in Kentucky. You have I'm not going to butcher the name, or Evan's going to get on top of me on it. Gets on me on that. Is the kid that we drafted out of Texas Tech. So I think the receivers will have a lot to do with the rushing attack. Even though we got Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert and Sony Michel and Gaskin, unless he's the odd man out. But I think the wide receivers, just because of what McDaniel has done and the success that he's had, Hank, I think we do have that fear, but most likely a reality is that some of these receivers will be running the football in these type of trick plays as we get towards the middle part of the season.
Well, let's see.
Would you rather? Here's something I have for overtime, but I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you were to take the offense and put Hill, Waddle, Wilson Jr., Gesicki, those are all on the line. Now you put some of that speed, and Edmonds is a great back too. He's a better back than people give him credit, in my opinion. But anyway, you're going to have pure speed, plus you're going to have that speed coming out of the backfield. You're stretching the field, first of all. You're opening lanes for the running back. There's I don't know which way people are going to go on this Miami offense. And that's why people are starting to talk about it, because it is or can be a very dynamic offense like we've never seen, like we haven't seen in over 20 years.
Yeah, it has the potential to do that. Everybody, that's why fans are excited, but there's also some caution there, just because we've been in there before. We start a wide receiver, turns out to be nothing. Like I said a reference to on overtime, we're talking a little more about Tyreek Hill, Hank. And just to reference that history, I was kind of going back and looking. The Dolphins have gotten star wide receivers in the past to help their young quarterbacks. Chad Henne, it was Brandon Marshall. With Ryan Tannehill, it was Mike Wallace. Both of those guys were traded to the Dolphins, and they were gone after 2 seasons. Mike Wallace never passed 1,000 yards. And then you got, Brandon Marshall, who actually had, what's up, John? Brandon Marshall actually had pretty good seasons with Miami, with Chad Henne. But
hey, everybody.
He had more than 1,000 yards in both years, but he was gone after 2 seasons. So there's that factor too that can't be overlooked. Is we've been high on guys before, or high on our offense before, and been let down. So very quickly, because I see how optimistic you are, what's the difference between now and then?
Between now?
Yeah, we've been high on our offense before when we've got wide receivers like Mike Wallace.
Okay.
I'll
tell you the difference.
What's the difference between now with Tyreek Hill coming in and we're going, oh, crap, here we go, compared to Tony Sperano with Brandon Marshall, with Chad Henne, and then, of course, I don't know who is the coach of Joe Philbin, Mike Wallace, and Tannehill. I believe that's where it was before.
Okay. Well, you had Mike Wallace. There's one of your answers. He didn't do anything. He didn't do nothing.
He didn't do anything.
So, big deal on Wallace. That was just a mistake. That's all that was. And then you go around and you get, who was the other guy you mentioned?
Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall did all right. He did. Blow it up. He did fine, though. So
big time numbers.
Now, what's the difference now? The difference now is you have a different type of offense to start with. Whole completely different offense where people are going to have to cover in a completely different way. We didn't have that kind of speed on offense that we have right now. That was we were nowhere near that. We were nowhere near that. You were relying on Marshall to be a number one wide receiver and draw all the defense, and that really didn't come to fruition when you got down to nails and tacks. The job didn't get done. He wasn't taking the double coverage. They didn't need it to cover him anymore. That's why. And Wallace wasn't able to get down the field because he was always in and out of the lineup. So that's the difference in those. And Hunt is also in his prime. You also have another wide receiver that's excellent, which is Waddle. You got three great running backs to have in the backfield. I mean, speed. Gesicki, Wilson Jr., the young, like you said, the wide receiver. I know it's EZ something, so I'll call him EZ. All right.
It's Akuma. I know. Neil. Yeah. I mean, Evan will get on me about it.
I always butcher everybody's name, so I don't say them.
Me too. But we know Eric. I call him Easy E, double E. Yeah, so I'll call him double E.
So Easy E is, he could be a huge factor in all this, and we don't even know it yet. So, well, it's much different than it's been in the past. And the other part that's different is you still don't know if you can rely on the offensive line. The same problem we've had for years. You still don't know if you can rely on them to hold long enough to get the ball out. I'm hoping the addition of Jackson and what was the other guy? Connor.
Yeah, Colin. You talking about offensive line?
Yeah.
Yeah, Terran Armstead and Connor Williams.
Connor Williams. Okay. They came over. I was thinking the guy from Dallas that we got. I was talking about the guy from Dallas we got.
Oh, wide receiver?
No.
Connor Williams is
that's
we got
Wilson
from Dallas,
Jr.
Cedric Wilson.
Talk about the lineman we got.
Connor Williams is who we got. Connor Williams is who we got from Dallas, offensive lineman, left guard, who's going to play center this season.
That's who I'm talking about. We got those two guys in to maybe boost it up a little bit. Obviously, Armstead's a good pick, but is he going to get hurt? Is he going to stay healthy? Again,
that's when the pressure's going to be Austin Jackson if he plays left tackle.
Yeah, and that's why Austin Jackson had better wake up, because he's probably going to be needed at some point in time in the year.
Absolutely. So. All right, well, there you have it. So let's go on into our fun segment here, Hank. I know you like these, so let's do this over-under or just about. So I will read off a line, this player will have this many whatnot. You say over that, under that, or just about. All right, so let's start this off. We've been talking defense, so we'll start with defense. Jalen Phillips, one of our favorites, who we think is going to have a big year next season. Jalen Phillips will have 9 sacks this coming season.
Over.
Really? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking 11.
Ooh, that's fair. I think that's fair. I like that. I'm going to say just about, but I think you're in the ballpark. I like that.
Okay.
All right, guys. Hey, guys, and everyone who's watching, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. FinsTalk Network, get all the Dolphins content. Hammer Time, John, everyone tuning in.
What's up, everybody?
So go ahead and put your answers below. If you haven't yet, but you can put them in the comments if you're watching this after the live show. Okay, so you have 11. I have 9 for Jalen Phillips. Tyreek Hill will have 6 receiving touchdowns this season.
Oh, he's going to have over that.
Over? You got a number?
Yeah, he'll have 8.
8. Okay, you know what? I say over, and I had 7. That's my answer there. I think 7 touchdowns, and I think that's fair. But for both of us, because you got to
17 17 games, 8 touchdowns. That's very doable to me.
Doable, and people might go, no, he needs to have more. The fact of the matter is, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Cedric Wilson, you got Mike Gesicki, who I think is going to have the most touchdowns this coming season. I think he's going to benefit the most from these guys. So, and I'm talking about Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki will have 800 yards this season receiving.
Ooh, just about.
Just about. I'm gonna go. I think he's gonna have a lot of touchdowns, but I'm gonna say under 800 yards. But I think he's gonna have a very good year. But I think people are slipping on Smythe. I think he'll have another one. I think he'll be a huge part of the offense as well. Here's your boy, Igbo. Noah Ibanagany will have one interception this season.
Over.
Ooh. Really? What do we got? Hangster. Come on, man. What are you doing? The Four Horsemen? What do you got going? Oh, 4.
4, baby.
Oh, you're getting me on this one. I want to be nice, so I'm going to say just about. I think he gets his first interception this year.
He's going to come in for Jones, and he's going to have 4.
Man, oh, man. All right. Jalen Waddle will have 100 catches this season.
No, he'll have under that.
I'm with you. He'll have under that. 100.
They're just too many people to give the ball to.
That's right. Does he even get on the field? John, and Hank's prediction of the season, maybe, is that Igbo will get to see the field because Byron Jones might get hurt. And he thinks that with the new coaching staff of Pat Surtain and Sam Madison, that Igbo will get to see the field and will excel this year. So that is a prediction. We'll see what happens, but that's what Hank believes, and I get it. Dolphins will have 9 wins this year, Hank. Over or under?
Over, baby. Way over.
Way over. I think we talked about this. I still got to look at this. We're going to do that as it gets closer to the season, Hank, once we kind of see how it kind of plays out finally. But we'll relook at the record, but we both had it over, so I'm going to stick with over. Now.
I think I was around 13 wins.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Teddy Bridgewater will have at least 1 start this season.
Under. He's not starting. He's going to ride the pine.
I say just about. I think Teddy Bridgewater will start at least 1 game because Tua's history with injury. But yeah.
Nah.
But
you got to look at the reasons why the kid was injured, first of all. One injury he came into the league with. The other injury he got because nobody blocked.
He's injured because he plays. He just injures.
No, he's injured because somebody slammed him to the ground and broke his rib.
He sneezes, he breaks the rib, Hank.
So he breaks a rib. Wink, get up.
Well, I think Tua's going to, in all fairness, I mean, especially now with Mike McDaniel and everything, Tyreek Hill, especially given all that praise and whatnot, I think Tua's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. So I do expect him to try to push to play every game, but I can't see him playing every game. I just expect him to at least sit 1 game. We'll see. But this is a double header episode. Guys, so stick around. It's not over just yet. We always, as always, Mr. Hank, this is FinsTalk today. You and I running strong. I thank you for coming on with me, my friend. And guys, we'll be back next Saturday for another episode of FinsTalk today.
Yeah, I'll catch you when? Saturday at noon, right?
Saturday at noon, our new time slot for a couple
time.
Weeks. We had a great show last weekend. It was fun. Everybody tuned in. We were laughing, having a good time. So catch us on Saturday. Get your morning coffee, or if it's at noon and Eastern, get your lunch, sit down, turn on some FinsTalk today, and we do games like this. We have a lot of fun, guys. So stay with us here. We got overtime coming up. It's me and Brett Lagasse. We'll keep this conversation going. Hank, see you next time, my friend.
Fins up, yo.
Fins up. And go ahead and change this. And get Mr. Lagasse here. And you're going to change up the brand. What's up, Brett?
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Just doing a little research there. Just seeing the it's great. Is your first point you want to bring up for this show? It's gonna lead off right from your other show, talk about Byron Jones and Noah Igbinoghene.
Yeah, what's that?
How underrated players. So I still think, for some reason, somehow Byron Jones has become underrated on this team. I don't think people appreciate him enough.
I agree with that. I get that.
I know you said 3, but I'm going to throw like a bonus in there for that. So.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Yeah, you're talking about underappreciated players?
Yeah, the ones that aren't getting no one's talking about. So I'm going to throw one player in there. So 3 of them are players that are on the team.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to throw like an extra bonus that just was added this year that I think can become an underrated piece with like as far as the media more than the fandom. How's my sound?
Okay. No, you're good. The sounds good. You're talking about, what we were discussing, we discussed a little earlier, Dolphins fandom. We were talking about players who are facing the most pressure this coming season, not named Tua.
Yep.
I had Tyreek Hill, Austin Jackson, and Igbo. Hank had Tyreek, Austin Jackson, and he had Byron Jones. And because he always gets hurt. That's what Mr. Hank was saying. But which we're talking about which was going to be the first topic for us, was the Dolphins fandom and the media talk mainly about Tua, the offense, Tyreek, sprinkle a little Xavier Howard in there.
And they talk about the defense as a whole.
But
as a unit, they don't talk about – because there's a whole lot of big names, but it's the defense plays really well. So
yeah, absolutely. So those main names are defense as a whole, Tyreek, Tua. We had 3 players, so you said you got an extra one in there. So what are your 4 players that are underappreciated and should be talked about more on this Dolphins roster?
So when you really think about it, Byron Jones just doesn't get enough. I don't know. He doesn't get enough credit. He's going to be the one to start out with the most. So, like, Byron Jones does his job, right? When he was with Dallas, he didn't miss any time until his last year at Dallas. He missed 2 games. And all of a sudden, he's missing time. But he plays through injuries. His first year at the team, he was battling a groin injury the entire season. And then last year was battling an ankle injury. Now, as I said, injuries are a part of evaluation. So, it's like you like him to stay healthy. But he has a track record of staying healthy. He's a very intelligent corner. He won with athleticism early in his career. Now he wins with smarts, right? So on your show there, what you guys were talking about, like guys under the biggest, most pressure, I don't think like Noah would be under a whole lot of pressure because he has so much talent in front of him. He can just kind of develop and grow into his own as needed. I mean, he's obviously going to have to show some major growth. But Byron Jones, I just think – the media and the fan base does not give him enough credit. And if you watch film, Byron Jones does things that like people don't realize he does. And they throw to X because X baits them, not because he's the lesser corner. Usually they'll throw to they pick and choose about. A quarterback's not going to say, I'm going to pick on X. They know better. But what's happening is Byron has the other side of the receiver locked down a lot.
Yeah.
And X is baiting the quarterback. Like he's open. Just kidding. X is amazing at baiting the quarterback. He's one of the absolute best. Jalen Ramsey's right there with him, but like X is so masterful at baiting the quarterback. So the other one I want to mention is Jerome Baker. Again, fan base doesn't appreciate him. Media doesn't appreciate him, mainly because he was at a position a lot. He's playing middle linebacker a lot, but he's more of an outside backer. He's a guy that blitzes very effectively. Guy that rushes the passer effectively, drops in coverage in short area effectively, is really good at catching running backs on the swing passes from the outside linebacker position, not so much from the inside linebacker. There's quite a few times everybody's like, what is Baker doing? Well, Baker actually did his job and funneled the back into his defense, but his defense wasn't there. So it looked like Baker overran the play, but what he did on his assignment was funnel everything back. And there wasn't enough to clean up there. So it made it look like he completely missed, but he did his job. He does his job. He's energetic. He's a leader. And the reason they re-signed him is because he's a leader. And finally, this is not a cop-out. The defensive line, minus Emmanuel Ogbah. Everybody knows about Emmanuel Ogbah. Everybody, I think, even the media gives him some respect. Our entire defensive line outside of that is so underappreciated. And each one does a certain thing very well. Like Christian Wilkins is very good, tackles for loss, getting pressure. Sacks are not everything. He gets pressure. He forces running backs to change lanes. He forces them to stop and look for the cutback lane. Zach Sealer has just been a beast and underrated defensive lineman in the entire NFL. The media doesn't know about him. Only Dolphin fans really know about him. He just does his job, does everything well. And then Raekwon Davis is a stud in the middle of the defense. When he was hurt, we felt that. Like, Adam Butler is not Raekwon Davis. Adam Butler is more of a pass rushing nose tackle situational guy. Raekwon Davis is our beast in the middle. And when he was hurt, that hurt the defense. So those three right there, the core themselves, are really honestly underrated. But obviously the most underrated, if I had to pick one, is Zach Sealer, because nobody knows about him. People know who Christian Wilkins is. They know who Raekwon Davis is. You know, most of your scouts and the guys who like watch college football hardcore would know who those two are. But Zach Sealer went to a small school, got cut or went to a practice squad of Baltimore. Miami picked him up from the practice squad. And no one really talks about him. He has been such a key piece. And when he's on the field, sacks go up, turnovers go up, production goes up. So he's a factor on the field at all times. And then the fourth one I want to add, and this is someone who could be an underrated player, is Cedric Wilson. And I just think it's because he's not going to be the Tyreek or the Jalen Waddle. Everybody's talking about them. And even me sometimes kind of forget he's on the roster already after Tyreek, because we talk about what's Tyreek going to do, what's Waddle going to do, what's Gesicki going to do, you know, even Hunter Long. But Cedric Wilson's like right there. Everyone's talking about Lynn Bowden this, but Cedric Wilson has been decent, and he flourished in his role. He really flourished in his role and stepping up when the opportunity presented itself. I love seeing that. When he was signed, it's noted that I wasn't extremely high on him. Yeah. Right. But at the same time, you know, like, I liked him for what he is, what the role he's playing in now. But if that was like their key wide receiver signing, like, okay, that's not enough. But he's the kind of player with Tyreek that's like a great complementary piece. You can just move around. And I think he's going to be a fun addition to have. He's not like your dominant number one receiver, but he's going to be a good receiver to have.
I like it. No, and I think it's a good point. First off, John says, Brett, baby. They say, hey, Brett, what's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Steve says a lot of extra success has to do with Jones, this is the problem with people, ball watchers or stat watchers. They look at the stats. They don't look at the real player, and then they just go based off that. You know, it's kind of reminds me of when Sue was here. You know, people were expecting sacks and everything else, but he did so much more for everybody else, Cam Wake and those guys putting their numbers up. So I love all the points. Steve, totally agree with you. What's up, Ralph? I called you. I called you yesterday. I'm sorry I missed your call. I got to say this outside because this is the only time I ever talked, because I tried calling back and you didn't answer. Tried calling you back yesterday. You didn't answer. I get it. The only reason why I missed your call and didn't see your text till later, it was with the kids. Saw my phone down. Saw your calls. Wasn't ignoring you. Just throw that out there. And yes, it was fake news about the KD trade. I know about that. All right. So, so for me, and get that out there for my stepdad, Ralph. So, well, let's see where we're going here. I get your points with Byron Jones. They're good points. You're absolutely right. Igbo was a player that I think will face a lot of pressure just because he is a first-round pick. Same thing with Austin Jackson. Both first-round picks. They should live up to those first-round picks with a new staff in place. Who do you call this? Pat Surtain and let's see. I was kidding. Oh, it's all good. Pat Surtain and Sam Madison may have a big something to do with him getting better. We'll see. But
you'd love to see it. You'd love to see that. I mean, any redemption story, even if he just becomes so good enough to trade or just be a solid piece. I mean, it's something like redeeming anything.
Absolutely.
Would be nice.
And he deserves it. He didn't get a chance to show it live on the field, even when the Dolphins had no chance at a playoffs. He should have been in there. You should have put him in there. He's a first-round pick. See what you got him. I know you don't see nothing in practice, but sometimes players play better on live game day on the field during a live game than they do in practice. You got to see what your first-round pick can do. So hopefully he gets that opportunity because he deserves that opportunity. So talking about players not named Tua, not named Tyreek, offense, whatever, defense as a whole, that are underrated or underappreciated. I actually have another D-back, which is Nick Needham. I don't think a lot of people give a lot of credit to Nick Needham and what he does when he's on the field, providing big plays, special teams, etc. I think Nick Needham's one.
That's a good choice there. I feel like we have a lot of underrated guys on defense, but that's a damn good choice there.
Yeah,
I love Nick Needham.
Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of love. I only see a little bit, but not enough. I mean, he is a very good, decent player on this defense, and he does a lot for our defense to make it as great it is when it's hitting its high marks. You brought up Hunter Long. Everybody talking about Mike Gesicki, and not talking about these other guys like a Cedric Wilson. I'm going to butcher his name, but Durham Smythe. I think nobody's talking about him. We're talking about what Mike McDaniel and John Embry and what these guys could do for Mike Gesicki or Hunter Long. What could they do for this guy who's shown a lot of promise? And, and a lot of the time when Mike Gesicki can't be found, this is a guy making some plays on offense as the tight end. So he's another one for me, Brett. And then secondly, of course, I think it's going to be the best impact player for the Dolphins offense to succeed is Alec Ingold. I think Alec Ingold is another player not talked about a lot by Dolphin fans. It's always Tyreek, Terran Armstead, Tua, whatever. It's not this guy. But the Dolphins are going to be a running football team right now, whether it's the receivers running or one of the backs running back. It's going to be a running first offense, and it starts with the fullback. We've gone back to traditional fullback, who's also plays receiver, etc. Alec Ingold, I think, is going to be a huge part of this offense, and I think he'll be a fan favorite by the end of this season. What do you think about Ingold and his impact for the Dolphins this season? Do you agree that he's going to be one of, if not the most impact player for us?
Yeah, I think he'll be an impact player simply for the fact that, one, it's kind of how we've been using tight ends in the first place. Durham Smythe kind of using that way. Adam Shaheen, I think another overlooked player, Adam Shaheen. I know he's kind of hit or miss with fans, but he's a good blocker. He's a decent receiver. Like, he's nothing spectacular, but does his job. But Ingold obviously adds like a little bit more than those guys do, right? Those guys are decent to good blockers. They're okay receivers. They don't really run routes well. Where Ingold's kind of a playmaker at a fullback. He's a little bit more athletic than them, catches the ball really well, blocks really well, plays with a lot of energy, and you can move him around how they use Kyle Juszczyk in San Francisco. So he's a guy kind of like that. You can move around. You can use him at running back a little bit. You can use him as an H-back, as a little bit of a tight end, kind of like a move tight end in the sense how Delaney Walker has been used before. So like something along those lines. I do think he will be. I think he's a good choice, obviously for underrated, because no one's really talking about him either as an addition. And I know you've been like high on Alec Ingold since he was signed, but I really do. I do agree. I think he fits like a safety valve for Tua. If you think about, like, we talk about offensive line, and we still have questions about offensive line. Like, I'm still not sure how Williams is going to do at center. How is everything going to mesh? How is it going to go? Teron Armstead's health, is always a question. Love the signing of him, but he's hasn't played a full season. So is he going to miss time? If he does, Alec Ingold could be that safety valve. If Tua's feeling pressure, Alec Ingold could be there on a read. If 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, no one's coming, he's going to go out in a route. Or if he sees a busted block, he's either going to pick it up or go out in a route. So there's a lot of different ways that Alec Ingold could be used. And I do agree that he could be a key piece. But does that make one of our tight ends expendable in that sense? I don't know.
I think so.
So
I think that's what people are not looking at. I think one of our tight ends will be
5 now.
Yep. And you got to think about, like you're saying, what Alec Ingold may be. That I kind of think, obviously you look at what San Francisco did with their fullback, and I'm missing on his name. I don't want to say butcher his last name, but Kyle Jureski, whatever.
Juszczyk.
Yeah, is that what it is? I mean, I butcher it, but
it's not pronounced how it's spelled.
yeah. But I think of Charles Clay.
Yes,
Charles Clay. I think of Charles Clay and how he was used, how he was a fullback and then he was a tight end. He was an what do you call that? Yep. A Y back or whatever.
H back. Yep.
Tight end, fullback. He did everything, and that's what Alec Ingold. I think might be a better version of that.
You remember Chris Coley played for Washington?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Started as a fullback, moved to tight end. That's why he wore 47.
That's
Him and Dallas Clark started as fullbacks. That's why they kept the number 40 and just moved to tight end. And because that was before the 40 rule. So those are like, I'm not saying he's that level, but he just offers that flexibility. And Charles Clay is a great comparison there because Charles Clay wasn't like an elite tight end, but he was a playmaker. He was moved all over the place, and he was athletic enough, and Alec Ingold could offer that. And the key thing is, for those of you saying offensive line, blocking, protection, that's a big part of it. Like, now you don't have to keep tight ends in. Now you can use Gesicki a little bit more because now that fullback can stay in and block.
100%.
Oh, and by the way, we have some running backs that can block now, that can pass block. So especially Stoney Michel. So now all of a sudden protection's better. Just like putting Ingold alone in the backfield. No running back, just Ingold. You got Gesicki out there and Hunter Long at tight end, and you got Tyreek, so all of a sudden you still have a dangerous players all over the field, even with Ingold, and he doesn't have to run the ball. You can do a sneak dump off pass to him, leave him in the pass block, and it could work out. So there's a lot of positives to Alec Ingold. So I do agree.
And I'll say this, and
it's cool for you fullback fans. This is an awesome episode. We're actually gushing about how excited we are about a tight end or a fullback, rather.
A fullback. No, and you know what? And it's the other thing. I know some people might go, "Oh, if he's so great, why did Raiders let him win all the way? Why is he not a bigger?" But here's the thing: what counts for it as well is, first of all, he was a solid fullback on his previous team, but it's the Mike McDaniel factor. If you want to put Mike McDaniel and say Tua's going to have a great year because of McDaniel, you have to say the same for Alec Ingold. I mean, and what Mike McDaniel has done with fullbacks, John Embry and that staff has done, and so I'm not saying that he's, why was he not great before? I think it's the coaching staff has a lot to do with it as well. He's a very solid fullback, but I just think he's going to reach another tier with this staff. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And he loves playing. Like when you watch him play, he loves to play. Like he loves being out there. And you saw what he did with the Raiders offense, and the Raiders offense is the West Coast offense. So he comes in, fits perfect there. A lot of people don't understand the NFL is full of Air Coryell or West Coast offenses pretty much. And a lot of variances of the West Coast offense exist. And the Mike Shanahan variant, which is very well known from Mike Shanahan, we always use a fullback in some type of way. Now it's adapted and advanced since then. However, some of their concepts are still very old school in that way, and they are a physical team. Even though they use speed backs, they're usually very physical up front. I know the concept is they cut block and all that. No, usually their offensive line is pretty physical. They're just usually more athletic guys. And the fullback is no different. He's athletic, he's tough, and that's why they brought in Ingold, because he is athletic, but he's also tough, and he will block you. And there's some highlights of him, you could probably find it on Twitter, of Alec Ingold knocking some heads off and catching the ball. And it's just nice to have a versatile piece like that. I highly recommend watching San Francisco and Kyle Juszczyk and how they used him, and then go watch some highlights of or tape, if you want, whatever you want, of Alec Ingold the last couple of years with the Raiders, and just kind of make some parallels there, because there are some. And you can kind of see like how Mike McDaniel may use him, because I mean that's obviously the offense he's used to run. Great suggestion and point, because and you know what, I guarantee you, Steve, I'm a fullback fan too. I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to offense. Run, ground and pound, then you pass. So I'm excited about the fullback thing, as obviously Brett is as well, and anybody who's a fullback fan watching. But I will say this: I think it's a great suggestion, and I think if people start watching him and do watch some of his tape or highlights or whatever you do, and then watch what McDaniel has done with what's his last name? Juszczyk, whatever. Kyle. I'm butchering it. It was close this time. It was close.
I know. I tried. I was like, but if you watch some of what he did there and see what this guy does with the Raiders, I think you're going to be a huge fan of this guy by the end of it, because you should be. I mean, I'm very excited about him. Now, let's move on a little bit. I'm sure you saw at the end there, we were playing, over, under, or just about. And we were talking about would the Dolphins have 9 wins. We did, right when the schedule got released, me and Brett did our on-the-spot predictions. Of course, as we get closer to the season, we'll look at the schedule again and either revamp that or keep it. But the Las Vegas sports books have the over-under with win total for the Dolphins this coming season at 8.5. So I have to ask you, is that fair or is that foul?
That's really tough. Like at one point, explanation wise, I think if I heard it, maybe I could go one way or the other. I don't think it's not unfair. It's a little unfair, but I would say more on the foul side. I think they can win more. I think they can win 10 games, but wouldn't surprise if they won 9, honestly. But I think they're more than 10. I don't remember how many games I had them winning. What, 10, 11?
Yeah, I think 11.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be over on that, but I don't think it's really unfair. Because I'm saying 10, 11, that's what, a game and a half, 2.5 above. So 2.5 is quite a bit above, but I mean 1.5 games above. I don't. So it's. I think if they said 9.5, I'd call it fair, but I'll say foul because I think they'll win more than 8.5.
Yeah,
obviously barring injuries and the unforeseen things, but as it stands right now, I think they win more than 8.5.
No, and I agree with you. I think I would say it's more on the foul end. If you would have said 9.5, if the sportsbook would say 9.5, I'd be more fair. And I think it's low on the low end for 8.5, just because you got to count Tyreek Hill. You got to count the offense and how with Jalen Waddle and how the defense performed at the end of the year and the new coaching staff, even though there's always a question mark. But 8.5.
Look at San Francisco and how they've been coached and how they run the ball, control the clock, keep the ball out of the quarterback's hands. And Mike McDaniels is a big part of that. So, and that's a big factor, too. We talk about Tua a lot because it is the most important position. But coaching can overcome quarterbacks sometimes. Like if your quarterbacks aren't playing well and all
and
that.
That's why
Kyle Shanahan has done that for a while with Jimmy G. So
and that's why I didn't mention Tua and that reason why it should be over, because maybe it is at 8.5 because the question mark is at the quarterback position. But I think those other factors, Terron Armstead, Connor Williams, Cedric Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Gesicki, Mike McDaniel on that defense, that was an elite defense in the second half.
Yeah, the defense coming back and basically getting a chance to re-up from last year, so yeah.
Yeah, I would say 9.5 would be fair, but I say 8.5 is definitely foul. I get it. I'm not. It's not something I said to go, whoa, that's ridiculous. No,
right?
I get it. But I think 9.5 is fair. That would be foul. 8.5.
Put it this way: this gives a better perspective, right? So if it's 8.5 wins, they're basically saying there's going to be somewhere 8-9 or 9-8, right?
Yeah.
We're saying they'll be a winning, because that's a losing season that we're barely above 500, right? We're saying they're going to be 10-7 or 11-6.
Exactly.
So I think we'll go foul on that.
Yeah, foul. I agree with you. So now we were talking about players not named Tua and not named Tyreek, but we're going to talk a little bit about Tyreek because I think we have to. He has his new podcast. He's been making headlines talking about Tua and comparing Tua with Patrick Mahomes. He never said Tua was better than Pat Mahomes. He just said he was more accurate than Pat Mahomes. People have to clarify that. But he is putting a big bullseye on his back, in my opinion. Yeah, that's why he's one of my players on the Dolphins roster that's going to be facing some of the most pressure next year, not named Tua.
Oh, yeah. Just his contract alone and his ceiling where he's been. Yeah.
He bet on himself. He made his way out of Kansas City, where he was secure as one of the top playmakers in the NFL with one of the best quarterbacks in football, Pat Mahomes. Leaves there, bets on himself, chooses to go to Miami over the Jets and with Kansas City. Obviously, the Jets is no question. I've been saying this earlier. I don't care what anybody says about Tua, better than Zach Wilson. But
he leveraged them. He leveraged them like Ryan Clark did us. For those of you old enough to remember the Ryan Clark situation.
And he but he did. He left Kansas City in a safe spot, Super Bowl contenders, whatever. Yeah. He says, I'm going to Miami. I'm going to, they're going to pay me, but also watch what I do with this young quarterback where there's a question mark, and let me watch him make the leap. Let me see what I can do with him and still put up good numbers. So the bullseye's there. Now, we talked about that. That was why I think he's going to be one of the players facing the most pressure besides Tua. Now, this is not the first time the Dolphins have gone out and got a Pro Bowl talent receiver, top tier receiver. I mean, to help their young quarterback. Before it was Brandon Marshall with Chad Henne. It was Mike Wallace with Ryan Tannehill. Both times, Dolphin fans were excited, just like they are right now. The team's going to go to the Super Bowl. It's going to be epic, et cetera, et cetera. And Mike Wallace did nothing. I need not say did nothing. It's not right. It's not fair. Whatever. He never went over 1,000 yards. Never had really much impact. Brandon Marshall actually did pretty damn decent when he was here, if you look at his numbers. But with Chad Henne, Brandon Marshall, Ryan Tannehill, and Mike Wallace, they were both gone after 2 seasons, though. After making big noise, they didn't do anything, and they were gone after 2 seasons. They both failed to build chemistry with their young quarterbacks. The Dolphins were trying to help the young quarterbacks get these guys. They never built the chemistry. A lot of times there was the noise in the media about them not being happy with their starting quarterback, so they didn't help at all, really. What do you think it will be different with Tyreek Hill? And if so, why? Or do you think, no, it may be the same? I'm leaning more of the same. What do you think?
Tough. So there's a couple factors here that we have to really talk about. If you look at the quarterback situation, I would say Tua is probably a little bit better than Chad Henne, right? Tannehill, I still think right now is better than Tua. And he was better in Miami than so far than Tua has been. Not saying it can't change, but that's going to rile some people.
I know. So I'm sorry.
So let's look at the coaching staff here too. So let's
great point.
Play into a little bit what people have talked about with coaching staff, because we've talked about. I was on the fire Brian Flores thing during the 0-7 slide, so I always agreed that the coaching staff was an issue, and the fact that we missed out on 3 offensive coordinators and ended up with the guys we had, and I liked I can't even think of his name now, the tight end coach that we had as offensive coordinator with Stutesville, but I liked him as a tight ends coach, but I didn't like him as an offensive coordinator, and so I'm willing to look at coaching staff. Godsey, thank you. I was having a brain fart. Yeah, so Godsey, I like him as a coach, as a tight ends coach, as an offensive guy. He did well as a quarterback coach, filling in for Tua his rookie year, and I thought I felt like it might have been better with Godsey as a quarterback coach then. So, but sorry, I'm getting off topic here, but look at the coaching staff with Mike Wallace and Joe Philbin, and then look at the offensive system that they had with Brandon Marshall. So it was Brian Daboll for 1 year, right? And Brandon Marshall's second year, he had 1,200 yards. He had 1,000 yards his first year and 3 touchdowns, and he had 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns. So when they switched systems to Brian Daboll, who opened it up when Matt Moore came in, all of a sudden the offense started clicking, and Brandon Marshall's numbers went up, and because Matt Moore just chuck it up. So that made a little bit of a difference. But then they let him go because of the whole hothead or the strong will, and Joe Philbin didn't like that stuff. So then they get Mike Wallace a couple years later, right? And it's kind of it's a letdown. Mike Tannehill and Wallace aren't compatible throwing the ball to each other. But in the second year, Wallace had 10 touchdowns. He only did that twice in his career. His second year in the league, and then with Tannehill, he only ever did that twice. Every other year was less than that.
Now that was Philbin. That was Philbin. Brandon Marshall was Soprano, right?
Sperano. And Brian Daboll was an offensive coordinator for the second season. Gotcha. I forgot who was offensive coordinator in his first season with Miami. Man, it's so.
No, Mike Sherman is Ryan Tannehill.
Right, Mike Sherman was Mike Wallace's.
Yeah, okay, it's okay.
But
so I get it.
But the point remains, these offensive coordinators weren't anything special. Daboll was probably the better one, and it shows in Marshall's numbers that were a lot better after Henne sat. I think Tua can use Tyreek Hill better than those guys, than the quarterbacks who use Marshall and Wallace. However, I think so Wallace isn't the same level as Tyreek and Brandon Marshall. I liked Wallace. He was fast, explosive, but he was limited as a receiver in a sense. He didn't have the range that like a Marshall has, and Tyreek has more range than Wallace does, right? So I think Brandon Marshall is the better example of he performed regardless of quarterback. If you really look at his numbers, he really performed. He did 2,000-yard seasons, still had 9 touchdowns in 2 seasons, but it was his second year he got better with 6 touchdowns. So, but it was a really bland offense. It wasn't as a vertical offense.
No.
So I think with this, when you factor in, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit long answer. When you factor in Mike McDaniel factor, the offense, the Jalen Waddle. So Mike Wallace was Miami's number 1 receiver, right? Brandon Marshall was their number 1 receiver. Who else did they have? Of course, they had a run game to complement that. So
Reggie
now
Bush
you have
was with Brandon Marshall, right? It was Reggie Bush and
year 2. Yep,
Yeah,
his second year there, 2011.
Yep.
If you factor that in, Miami might have a good run system. Ideally, they probably should have a good run game, right? A better offensive system, better than both of those systems. Offensive staff, the young quarterback who's accurate, short, which Tyreek, if Tua is struggling, you want to take advantage of his strengths, get the ball to Tyreek early and let him create.
That's
get
right.
the ball to Waddle early, let him create. Get him to throw it up to Gesicki. I think having the other weapons around will actually help Tyreek Hill at the same time, and vice versa. So I don't know that it will be the same. I want to say it'll be different, but I don't want to really say that it is going to be different for sure. Like you want to believe it's going to be different, but I think we have a different coaching staff. I think this is a different situation. I think it's a better version of those 2 signings. It's not just, hey, we just went and got this playmaker because we're desperate. It was, we have a plan for this playmaker. Where the other 2 is just kind of like, let's just throw money at these playmakers and see what happens and trade for these guys. This one was, hey, there's an elite playmaker.
There's an opportunity here.
Fit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Marshall was kind of like that missing piece, but it was like, we didn't have the quarterback. And I think McDaniel is kind of like, if Tua is kind of an issue, we could see Tyreek Hill taking a step back like those 2 did. Because Brandon Marshall went off the next season, had double-digit touchdowns in back-to-back years with the Bears. So we could see production slip. Yep, we could see production slip with
that's expected.
Tyreek Hill, and if that happens, like then you start questioning, like, is it Tua? But can he still be a playmaker and last more than 2 years? I guess we'll see. So far I'm saying yes, but it's still early.
I like all your points. I know we keep bringing up the coaching staff as the fallback, but again, I'm going to say it. The reason why I think it could be different is the coaching staff, the plan they have in place for him. And the numbers might take a dip, but I don't think really it's going to be on the quarterback. It could be. I mean, it is what it is, being fair. But I think there's more weapons on this offense than there were for Brandon Marshall and Mike Wallace. For whatever reason, with the Mike Wallace situation, it looks like Ryan Tannehill just never had that chemistry with him. There was something off with that. They weren't compatible.
They started to hit a stride near the end of 2014.
10 touchdowns.
And they started doing good, yeah. But it was like it took so long to get that chemistry. It just wasn't natural at all. And Wallace did everything that Tannehill was struggling to do. Right? Yeah. So it sucked because Tua is a better deep ball thrower than Tannehill. Tannehill's really grown there. But at this stage of his career, Tua throws accurate ball deeper or a more accurate ball on deep passes than Tannehill did at this point. And that was where Tannehill struggled getting the ball to Wallace. Yeah. However, this time with Henny, he really just wasn't really – he just force-feed Marshall.
The same point, too with that is that the offense didn't know how to handle Mike. The coaching staff didn't know how to handle Mike Wallace. It was just, let's try to air it out and get the ball to him. Yep. When really, you would think that this offensive staff might say, you know what? If Tua can't throw past 40, which, I'm not saying 40, 50 yards, and get it, then you keep it, like you said, 10, 15, 20 yards, get your guy, let Tyreek make a play.
And that's where Tyreek's range comes in because he has more range and more versatility than Wallace. Where Wallace, you can use him on end arounds, but he's more of a deep threat, get open and blow the top off the defense.
Exactly. Yeah. Marshall, what I love, first of all, Marshall's was and the type of receiver he is one of my favorite types of receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Big, physical, go up in the air, get the ball, tear it down. I mean, and again,
and he will block. He likes blocking.
I mean, that's one of my favorite. Megatron, Marshall, DK Metcalf, Terrell Owens, those type of guys, big-bodied, strong wide receivers, physical. Again, I'm a physical offense type of guy, running game, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but his numbers were, even with Chad Henne, people can say whatever they want, his numbers were really good if you look at the offensive wide receiver number. So it wasn't a miss, but they both were gone after 2 years. They never built that type of chemistry. And that is the fear with Tyreek Hill. We do say there's kind of a 2-year window here with Hill. The benefit Miami has is, first off, in my opinion, we were talking about the coaching staff. The other thing I would say is Tyreek Hill is doing his damnedest to build a relationship with his young quarterback and to have his back. To have him on the podcast now, which I know everybody's waiting to hear about that, but also, or hear what he has to say, but also is doing his damnedest to build that relationship and that chemistry with him and to give him put him on a little bit of a pedestal to get him going for the season. So I think that will play a hand in it too, in regards if it's not going to be the same as Mike Wallace and Brandon Marshall. But yes, even though I think it's less likely just because of those two factors, coaching staff and the friendship or the relationship building, but it's not unlikely because it is a superstar wide receiver. He has a diva mentality. I mean, that's just what it is. And the thing is, really, it's a 1-year marriage. It's kind of a, what do you call
it's a trial year.
Trial year, it's rent to own. It's a rent to own year. If it's great, we stick it through. If it's not, we try someone else, Tyler Van Dyke, or in the draft, or you got 2 first-round picks, make a move, or sign a certain future Hall of Famer. But we're not going to go there. Okay, so.
Oh shit!
Not
comment gonna blow up.
No. Again, you guys are watching FinsTalk. Overtime is doubleheader. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. As we continue here, Brett, you have something to say? I'm sorry.
No, I agree with everything you're saying. Just the only thing I'll say is we've been down this road before with all our quarterback needs is some weapons, and we give him some weapons, and our quarterback doesn't produce.
Preach it.
So, however, we had this blow it up. Let's get rid of this GM for screwing up. We'll keep the coach, or we'll fire the coach. So hopefully this time, if it doesn't work, there's the plan in place. So hopefully they'll learn from their past. We'll see.
We'll see is right. But I agree. That's why I know people go, "Oh, you're being negative." No, we've been down this road before. Oh, it's the offensive line. No, it's the wide receivers. No, it's the coaching staff. The coach. But it's never. And then we stick with a guy, Chad Henne, Ryan Tannehill, and I liked Ryan Tannehill. And then so it's always been down this road. Could it be different? Maybe, but history shows. If you ignore history, it tends to repeat itself. History
is the best teacher, right? So
you would think,
just prove us wrong and show me different. That's what I want to see. I want to see it different this time.
100%. So you made a mistake. Earlier this week.
No.
Yeah, you made a mistake. And we were going to try to stay off of quarterback talk just because we always do. But
this one's fun.
Yeah, this one's fun. Facebook, if we're pals on Facebook, and you tagged me on a post, and it was start, bench, cut, and it was quarterbacks. And you said, "Don't do this on overtime." And I said, "Next time on overtime." And you said, "Well, shit, sorry." So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Everyone, first off, everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Put your answers below. It should be fun. And I think most Dolphin fans will probably answer this. But
I know how they would answer.
Yeah, me too. But if you guys want to join the show or come on and guest with me and Brett, message us. We'd love to have you on. We love to debate. We love to have conversations, etc. Of course, you got FinsTalk today on Saturdays at 12 Eastern. You have Overtime on Mondays at 7:30 Eastern. We did a doubleheader today because I was off this weekend for my 10-year anniversary, my wedding anniversary. And then you got the Goon Squad. If you like the Miami Heat, you love the Heat, plenty to talk about. Tune in Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time for the Goon Squad. So let's go ahead with start, bench, cut. So you have three quarterbacks. Current Dolphins quarterback, Tua. You have former Dolphins quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. And then you got the last playoff quarterback. It's Ryan Tannehill, technically, even though he's playoffs. It was Matt Moore. But the last playoff quarterback was Chad Pennington. Great year, Wildcat and everything else. Just perfect. What you hope Tua can be, in my opinion. That's his ceiling, in my opinion, Chad Pennington. So you got Chad Pennington there, Ryan Tannehill, and Tua. Now I know my answers, but I'm gonna let you go first and let you feel the pressure. So
I mean, are we talking like Chad Pennington, like just at any point in his career, like early on, or are we talking Chad Pennington was with the Dolphins?
Let's go Chad Pennington on the Dolphins. The playoff. Let's go that.
Okay, because that's probably the way to do it.
I don't want people saying, "Oh, I want Ryan Tannehill on the Titans," or "I want Tua from Alabama." No, this is Dolphins. Tua, Dolphins. Yeah. Tannehill, Dolphins. Chad.
You know, and a lot of people are going to probably disagree here, but actually, I think Tannehill before the knee injury was looking really good. And I think now
that was the year they made the playoffs. They lost it. They got injured in Arizona.
Yep. Tannehill fan. I was a Tannehill fan, but I definitely was fine trading him, moving on, starting fresh because it was time. Maybe they could have did what the Raiders did with Derek Carr, just try to keep going with him and look what happened. But it was time to move on, start fresh. There's a good quarterback class coming, so no hard feelings there. It's time. So, but I think I would actually start Tannehill, just because he's been sharp and he's been good. And
playoff quarterback, won some games.
Yep. But the Dolphins, Tannehill, I still think, in that playoff, maybe he would have gave us a better chance. I don't know.
I agree.
But he was looking really good. And I think, think about him with like Mike McDaniel right now in that system. And that's the system they run. And similar in Tennessee, it's a very similar system to that. So again, he's not the reason they're winning games. However, they won more games because of he basically wasn't making the mistakes that the other quarterbacks were making and was making some key throws. So I would actually say start Tannehill.
Interesting.
I'd sit Pennington. So there's that just gives everything away. So I'm sitting Pennington because he's a genius. He's the guy that is the quarterback coach. He's a guy that is up here all the time. He's ready to go. And he has coached up quarterbacks ahead of him quite a few times. And if Tannehill gets hurt, he's ready to come in and make some plays and just move the offense. And, man, we loved it. Anybody who got to watch him in the Dolphins uniform after terrorizing us with the Jets for a few years, it was actually really enjoyable to watch. He did such a great job of leading the team, being the coach on the sideline, understanding where he wasn't that crazy athlete. He didn't have a good arm. His arm was pretty dead. But the reason that he led them to win games is because he knew how to pick a defense apart. He knew what the defense was going to do and how they're going to attack him. He's very intelligent. And you can't put a price on that. I just watched this documentary, a little short one about Larry Bird, and people talk about he was slow. He wasn't that athletic. He shouldn't have been as good as he was. He was the smartest guy on the court at all times. He knew his awareness. It's just a theme. There's when the guy that has it between the ears, he's not going to be stopped. Even if he's not going to be the greatest, like Chad Pennington won't be considered the greatest, he was always overcame what he was physically because of his mental ability. And I would keep him. And obviously I would cut two at this point between those three. But, I mean, I'm not really excited about this, any of them as a future either, though. So I will say that.
No, man.
But it's not easy. That didn't I didn't just oh yeah, cut to a. I actually had to think that one out when I saw you wanted to talk about that because I'm that's tough. But I would be fine actually talking start Chad Pennington because this is a scenario that would be cool. Start Chad Pennington, sit Tua behind him, then cut Tannehill, right? Because you move on from Tannehill because we gave him so long, right? So how about this, Tua fans? You start Chad Pennington.
Yep.
Tua sits behind him and learns from Chad Pennington and mentors him.
Both, besides athletics, I would say similar quarterbacks, game managers, accurate. Because you can't say that Chad Pennington may not have the arm, but he was dead accurate when he, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football. So I like that, and I thought about that.
So that's a scenario I think actually my first scenario, scratch that. I think my favorite scenario is Chad Pennington starting and Tua on the bench, just because I like that scenario. Yeah, and cut Tannehill because.
Well, you know what? Screw you, man. I thought we were going to be in this together. I'll just say this because John sent a question and I don't want to miss it. And then we'll answer it right after I say mine. But if they don't make the playoffs, is Coach McDaniel gone? Does he have to get there and win at least one game to stay? We'll answer that. And Brett, hold me to it in case I forget it.
No, we got it.
So for me, I'm going to compared to your first one. To me, it's start Chad Pennington. Because, again, as you were saying, intelligence, accurate, game manager. I mean, again, I think he'd be perfect in this offense if it's limited, because he's going to get the ball where it's needed to be. He doesn't need to air it out. Just get it 10, 15, 20 yards. The running game, I mean, we saw what he could do with the running game, like Ricky and Ronnie. You know, those guys don't compare to what we have now. Those guys are above. But I think with this offense, he'd be on par, especially if it's year one Chad Pennington, not year two fragile, brittle bones. But bench, I'm with you on that. I bench Ryan Tannehill with the abilities, right? Because coming off the bench, you got athletics. You have a guy who could drive the ball downfield, score. I'm with you. That year they made the playoffs, 100%. And, yes, inaccuracy, whatever, reading the field in regards of protection, struggles. But I agree with you. The game where he got injured, I mean, that season, he was trending upwards. I mean, he was going there. And that's why it was so devastating when he got out for the year, because the Dolphins were looking really special that season. With, and yes, I'm not a fan of Adam Gase, but he was the coach at that time, and they went with Matt Moore, made the playoffs, got eliminated. I think the Dolphins would have won at least one game if Tannehill was the starting quarterback, because he offers so much more Matt Moore couldn't. Matt Moore was okay as a backup, but Tannehill as a starter, he doesn't offer just passing. He got better through the years, especially in Tennessee, and I'm here in Tennessee now. People say, oh, he has Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and whatever. Hey, what did they do before Tannehill? They didn't do a damn thing. They got a playoffs. They got eliminated with Marcus Mariota. And that was Derrick Henry, who was still Derrick Henry. Tannehill came in. He gave him an extra factor. They won football games. They went to the conference championship and got eliminated. Whatever. So there's potential there. So I would put him, especially McDaniel. He'd be the backup, and then cut Tua. I mean, if you're talking about quarterbacks right now, looking at what they've done, and look at their winning record. Tua's been pulled out of games. So the record, I don't look at the record as much as everybody else does. But if you're telling me these best versions of Dolphins, I'm going with Chad, Ryan, Tua. Now, I love the point of Chad starting, Tua as the backup, and then you move Tannehill because he's had a chance. Because Tua, and to me, I've said it plenty of times, people say Russell Wilson for whatever reason. Maybe it's skin or whatever. They want to compare Russell to Tua. The fact of the matter is, when I look at Tua, especially now, I see more of a Chad Pennington type quarterback than I do a Russell Wilson or whomever else, or Kyler Murray or whatever else. Because injury, Pennington had a very good arm at Marshall with Randy Moss. He was actually Randy Moss's college quarterback. He had a good arm. He got injured. That arm was basically dead. I mean, he could air it out, but not like he used to. So he had to rely on his accuracy and be smarter on the field, game manager, whatever. I think that's what Tua can be for the Dolphins, and he will be obviously the starting quarterback. So this is just a game here. But Tua can learn from him and develop the smart way to do it. Not like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who, we love him for being a daredevil, but we're going to crucify Tua for being a daredevil and throwing a pick because he's the young guy. We know we don't have years of Ryan. We got years of you if you stay around. So we want you to protect the ball and be, So for me, I love that idea. I love how you switch it up because honestly, it makes sense because if you're going to have Chad as your starter, Tua would be perfect. But for me, it's Chad Pennington, Ryan Tannehill, and Tua on the outs. Now,
I just wanted to offer a different perspective of like if you could possibly do it and salvage Tua. Because I know there's a lot of people like, oh my God, you guys are cutting Tua, and I figured you were going to do the same. So I wanted to offer a perspective that's like, someone mentoring Tua, and I would like that. I mean, most Dolphin fans probably say start Tua, sit Pennington, cut Tannehill.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know
a lot of different ways you can go, and one thing I want to mention when you said about Tennessee with Tannehill, is Tannehill was willing to make the throws that some of the other ones didn't, and Tannehill could make the throws that the other ones weren't. So he saw the field a little better, and not that he's like Patrick Mahomes, but he was good enough to back defenses out of that box to allow the run game to flourish because they had to respect Tannehill's arm and his ability to move. Now, last year, he took a big step back with throwing the ball. But, yes, he had a lot of weapons. Yes, he had a run game. But he did some things on his own that helped that offense take the next step.
Well, and I'm with you on that, too, in regards to when he was with Miami. Fan of Miami, of Ryan Tannehill when he was at Dolphins. I don't think he got a fair shot. I know people compare that to Tua, with Joe Philbin and Adam Gase or whatever. But I was on the mindset as well that I think he needed Miami and him both needed a fresh start. And I thought that he would do better with a fresh start and proven right on that because he has done well with Tennessee. Now, age catches up with you. The Tennessee team in general, the Tennessee Titans, were struggling last season. Derrick Henry was out most of the year. They still made the playoffs, but they were eliminated. So you could say, oh, he makes the playoffs over Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry didn't play. So
right.
I don't knock Tannehill as much as most people. I know it's popular, and they're probably the same people that are loving on Tua now are going to be the same ones that are bashing his ass when he's on another team and saying, well, we're lucky with the guy we have, because that's what they did with Tannehill.
Right,
a lot of guys who are praising Tua now, we're praising Tannehill and sticking by him the whole time, and then it just switches up. So, but I'm somebody who I still supported Tannehill when he left because I thought he didn't get a fair shake, and I thought he was going to do better somewhere else, which he has.
Philbin wanted to get rid of Tannehill for Derek Carr. Then he publicly told him he needed to step up. That's not fair. That's not how you treat your quarterback. Well, at least that's what I'm told. No, but Philbin wanted to move on from him. Philbin wanted.
No, he did. No, I know. I remember. Yeah, it was.
And they told him like, no, you're gonna have to make Tannehill work, which was kind of stupid.
Yeah,
because if you have a coach who's like, and I think this Derek Carr guy is better. Like, I'd rather draft him and compete with Tannehill.
Go with what your coach. It's your coach for a reason. Let him get his guy. I don't care what everybody else thinks. Let him get his guy. As much as I love Tannehill, you go with what Joe Philbin is saying as the head coach. If Mike McDaniel this guy is the quarterback, you let him get his guy. If he's wrong, you fire his ass. That's it.
Exactly. But just showing some similarities in
you have to. There is similarities there, despite people not wanting to believe it. Now, I don't want to miss John's question, John.
Let's get to that.
I'll respond to it, and then Brett, you could follow up. If they don't make the playoffs this season, the Miami Dolphins, is Coach McDaniel is he gone? Does he have to get there and win one game to stay? No. Now, if he goes there and loses, I'll consider the season a failure. I don't care if he makes the playoffs. He has to win a game for it to be a success. But in my opinion, no, you don't fire him after the first season. Even though it'll be a failure, you let him go another year or 2 more years. You let him get his quarterback, whether that's a veteran or especially if it has to do with the quarterback, you let him get his guy, or he can draft a guy and let him build a guy around his team. But no, not after one season. Now, if he goes and wins a playoff game, that's amazing. But if he loses one and he made it to the playoffs, no, he's not going to go after 1 year.
If they don't make the playoffs, I still don't think you fire them. Unless like everything goes off the rails, and it's just like one of those sloppy things where it's like the one bad thing after another happens, almost like the Raiders season this year. Although the Gruden couldn't control the players doing what they're doing, but it just seemed like one thing after another, like the teams losing control. We've seen this one and done head coaches where like, whoa, that was a debacle, like a Cam Cameron kind of thing. I don't think he gets fired for missing the playoffs. If they like just are complete garbage or something, like kind of like how we went 1-7, but like keep losing and miss the playoffs, that's a little different. But no, if they miss the playoffs for like one game, like we did the last 2 years, I don't think you fire him. It's not a win. If if they make the playoffs again, is it the season of failure? Yeah, not a total failure because they made the playoffs, but they still need to win the game. If they go into the game and they're competitive and they battle and give it everything they have and they look like they belong, I can consider that a success because that's showing me that you're a playoff team, not go get blown out like we have the past couple times we've been in the playoffs.
Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
Yep. Tired of seeing that. So we went 08-16, got blown out both times. So I want to see like competitive. I want to see like we didn't back into the playoffs. I want to see that, hey, we belong in the playoffs and we're coming next year and we're going to keep battling, so win a game, great, compete and show you belong. Awesome. If he doesn't go to the playoffs, he's not getting fired. Unless it's like a debacle of a season. It will put him under a lot of pressure the next year, especially if they just miss the playoffs. It'd be a lot of pressure, but I think at that point it's going to be like, what do you need? And if he gets what he needs, says he needs, and the next year miss the playoffs again, then we're in a different situation.
I will say this, and the another factor would play in is the Sean Payton thing. If the reports are true that Sean Payton, there it is, John. John just popped up with it. What if Payton's available? So he's the X factor and Tatiana, that's my wife, guys, who's saying they can't afford to have another head coach mess after the last crap show with Flores.
No, they really can't.
They can't. But if Sean Payton is available, he makes himself known that he's available. Miami supported had a mega offer for him, and he said no after the Flores thing. But if Stephen Ross is still the owner, and Miami misses the playoffs, or they go to the playoffs and they get blown out and it's whatever, then bets are off. All bets are off, in my opinion. But if Peyton's not there, no, I think McDaniel has at least another season or two, but he has to go get his guy and maybe correct the defense, whatever has to happen to have that opportunity. And hopefully, if that does happen, hopefully not, but if it does happen, hopefully Miami cleans house this time and doesn't keep Greer and then fire McDaniel, or fire McDaniel and keep Greer. Has to be a full clean slate, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah.
So.
Yep. And if Peyton's a ticket to get Brady, then that'll definitely pull the trigger to get it done. But
that's the thing right there. Honestly, that's the X factor. People don't like talk about it, but it's true.
But yeah, I don't see it like them just kicking McDaniel to the curb if they lose a playoff game. Ross isn't a knee-jerk reaction kind of guy like that.
No, he's not.
He's not just going, you missed the playoffs, get out of here. But he might consider, well, if Peyton's there, and he'll wait. If it was just a debacle of a season, Sean Payton, Tom Brady, let's go. If it's like a hard-fought season, and you can evaluate that. Hey, they gave it their all, and they missed it by like one game. And injuries happened. Okay, you know what? McDaniel, you're back next year.
One of Stephen Ross's best traits is also one of his biggest flaws, if you're a fan, is loyalty. He sticks with his guys way longer than he needs to sometimes. Philbin, Gase, Flores, Greer, Tannenbaum.
I'll respect Greer because he's did some good things this year.
No, and I'm still,
Greer has been very loyal too.
Flores thing, but I was also on the fire Greer. I wanted them to clean house.
Yes, I was too.
Now, if Peyton is available, he's going to be the one in charge. He'll hire his GM, or he'll be the EVP of football operations plus head coach, be something like that.
Greer is a Parcells guy, so it'd probably
that's true too.
So they'll probably work together. So
he'll just be below him on that point. Which is obvious. But anyway, we'll leave it there. As always, guys, thank you for tuning in, everybody. John, Steve, Hammer Time, everyone tuning in, Ralph, and everyone else.
Thank you, everyone.
For sure. If you guys haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Tune in next week on Monday, 7:30 Eastern Time for another Overtime. May have a guest. And then FinsTalk today on Saturdays. And, of course, if you're a Heat fan, the Goon Squad. We have so much content for the FinsTalk Network. That's Brett Lagasse. I'm Bobby Melendez. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Fins up.